Many thanks for staying with us, and we sincerely apologize for break that we had to take, but everything is resolved and on. Are you still there?
I'm here. Thank you.
Mr. Lam, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We are still having a bit of issues which is being resolved as we speak, but we're actually looking at the angle, the northern Elder displeasure of the nationwide address that was made by Mr. President in line with nationwide protests happening. And majorly, it's looking at see if the northern part of the country has majorly with issues in line with banditry, kidnapping, rape, and other activities which has been devastating the area for over a decade now. So looking at the angle now from Mr. President, who just assumed office 14 months ago, and are we being fair on him, expecting him to have the country work again in 4 years? He's less than even 2 years in office. So as well as other aspects, the seeing a few protesters waving the flags of the Russians in Nigeria. So that's also something else. Now, what does that mean? The army also come out to say those doing that are committing treason. So we want to get to the bottom and then know the reasons why all of this is actually happening. And I have my guest who joined me via Zoom, Mr. Larry Toluhi, who is a political expert and incident that has been happening before we went on that quick break. Well, I have a feeling that everything has been sorted out now. And Mr. Larry, if you can hear me, please, we're sorry for that technical break. And, if we could please just continue having the conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, like as I was saying, we're there and we said, okay, that the northern elders, it is rather too late. But they should have spoken years before, and they did speak for more than 8 years, and now they're still talking. Yeah, the president should have addressed that because the president is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and but it took them a longer time for them to be able to find their voices, which for me it is appalling. But yeah, the president should have answered and should have addressed these issues. But you see, these things have been happening for almost a decade. That means for the later part, that means for the 8 years administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, if he had addressed it, if the if the London Northern elders had spoken of, maybe it would have grown to this monster that it was. And like we said, the president to the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu had shown that he does not understand what good governance is, and he has decided to surround himself with a set of people that don't even know what they were doing or have idea of how things are done. All they've just done is just to do uh come and do what they thought was they did in Lagos, which for us it was not a great deal. It is not how they think it is. We've seen them mess up a lot of things, and people are not expecting him to come and do magic. There's no magic one. For someone like me, I'm not expecting him to come and do magic. I was only expecting him to come in and uh, and show the leadership quality and show that he could actually take us away from where we were and start showing us that he's going to the right place. But rather, he's showing he does not have idea of what is happening because that's what he's doing. We said there's economic issues in the nation, and we're having uh, the largest members of cabinet, members of the executive. 48. It is the largest we've seen so far. Mind you, this 48, and it even created another one recently, making it 49. What do you call it? Ministry of House Boundary or what, livestock and whatever they call it. I can't remember what it is called again. It shows you how serious these guys are because that ministry, there's nothing. It should just be a directorate under the Ministry of Agriculture, and we have no business having a 48 ministers. It should be pruned down. And don't mind you that this same set of ministers, a lot of them had humongous amounts of aides. I can tell you that just the principal officers in the Nigerian Assembly, in the National Assembly, both in the Senate and House of Rep, talking of the Senate President, Deputy Senate President, the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the whips and whatever. Just those principal. I'm just talking. I'm not talking of the whole. I'm talking of just the principals. These
Mm.
guys alone, they have more than 2,000 aides that the federal government of Nigeria is paying. Minus they are paying these legislative. How much the ministers? I can tell you, our ministers, the 48 of them, have nothing less than 400 aides, if not more, and the government is paying them. It is look. These are the things we are saying. So nobody is telling the president, come do magic or come wave a magic wand. What the people are telling the president is, let's take proactive measure. Let's show us that you know what you are doing. Show us you know what you want to do. Show us that you have meanings. You really have good plans and you have good intention for the nation called Nigeria.
Yeah. Let's look at it from this angle because when the former Muhammad Buhari was in power, those from the southwest and then the southeast were clamoring for good governance, and then it was looking relatively very, very peaceful and quiet in the northern part of Nigeria. Do we think that the fact that we are seeing someone from the west now is one of the reasons why we're seeing the elders of the Northern Forum come out to react to the speech that was given by the president, political system that we're seeing in?
Yeah, it's that what I'm saying. The nepotism, the nepotism, the tribalistic attitude of Nigerians is why we are where we are now. We need to get that because we are all a product of the society that we are from. Our leaders are a product of the society. We, the followers, are a product of the society. So we must understand that for us to have good leaders, we must learn how to have good followers so that these followers can grow or graduate to be good leaders. The northern elders refused to say anything during the time of General Muhammad Buhari when a lot of things were bad. Believe me, what we are seeing today, it is as a result of what has been happening prior to to this administration. Now, the 8 years of misrule, of total backward movement of General Muhammad Buhari is what we are seeing. But look, I don't even care because both General Muhammad Buhari and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are of the same party, APC, so they have the same agenda. Now, for the northern leaders to now be talking now, I think it is rather too late. But yes, they have the right to talk. And yes, the president should address these things because thank God they finally found their voices. Now they are demanding, then the president should address what they are demanding. The president need to address insecurity because the primary aim of government is the protection of life and properties of the citizenry. So the president should address them. But it has been late for them to talk because they should have spoken when they needed to talk. But they didn't talk because they thought they had one of theirs in power. Now we can't continue like that. The Yorubas can't afford to be quiet because they thought they are one, they have their own son. Everybody we are first Nigerians. Before all these things, we are Nigerians, and we must understand that there is no region. The North can stand alone, the South can stand alone. See, the Northwest can stand alone, the Northeast can stand alone, the North Central can stand alone, the Southwest, the Southeast, South can stand alone. Until we understand that we are Nigerians and we are already bound. Yes, for some of us, we have issue with the fact there was an amalgamation. No problem. The amalgamation had happened. But how do we now make this amalgamation happen? How do we make it excel? Because all these things we are doing is what is drawing us back. See, we are not the most diverse set of people that is forming a nation. Don't let us lie to ourselves to keep lying to ourselves. Oh, we are diverse. That is why we have nations. India have more diversity than us. Pakistan have more diversity. I can tell you on and on. Even China. Let them go and do the survey. Let them go and do their research. But this nation have found a way of binding themselves together and moving forward. So why are we allowing ours to cause trouble? We should learn to see ourselves as Nigerians and stop this tribal and religious sentiments.
Looking at this from this angle now, because it has said that this protest is actually being sponsored by just yesterday, we saw a few protesters in the north waving the Russian flag, inviting them to come intervene. Though the Russian embassy have said they don't have hands with their flag being flied in Nigeria, being waved in Nigeria, and again, they have nothing to do with protests. Do you think that the politicians now, that because the current FCT minister, when so we came out to say and giving of this protest and the protesters themselves, do you think also trying to like spike something and then invite Russia to come and then come to the aid of what's going on in Nigeria?
Nigeria is a sovereign nation, right? So Russia has no business coming. And Russia, I'm happy Russia has denied that. And for those ignorant people or ignoramus, like I want to use, uh, waving Russian flag, that is mutiny. That is treason. It's a treasonable offense. If they don't know, they should know. So, like what the Nigerian army has said, it is because that is a threat to the uh, territorial integrity of Nigeria. So, if the Nigerian army is doing anything to them, nobody should raise voices and say things because it is totally wrong. You have the right, we all have the right to protest, but the protest must be peaceful. Look, there's no violence. Once it's becoming violent, the law enforcement has the right to protect other citizens too that have been peaceful, law-abiding citizens. If you have the right to protest, protest peacefully. You don't have to go in a gangster or go in a violent way to try to protest. And flying another country or waving another country's flag in a sovereign nation like Nigeria is mutiny, it is treasonable, and anybody caught doing that should be dealt with within the ambit of the law based on what is spelled out in the constitution of Nigeria. So people should stop doing that. And concerning what you said concerning the minister of FCT talking about politicians sponsoring this, does he have any proof? If he has any proof, he should come say that. See, people have the right to protest, like I said. Just that I know that the protest is not going to change anything because you see, when these are not the people that will hear you when you protest, they don't even care whether you protest or not. They don't even have time for you because, like I said, the Nigerian people are part of this problem. Look, the Nigerian society has given us a lot of problem, and we are in this conundrum because the Nigerian people, these guys marching out to vote to protest now, but they're not the one that voted these same people in power after they've collected little amount of money and some yards of Ankara or some little bit of foodstuff here and there. So you can't sell your rights and at the same time want it. If you decide to disrespect yourself, others will disrespect you more. And that's what happened to Nigerians. They had an opportunity to vote. They had an opportunity to
Yeah.
vote in 2003 to vote for who they felt was right, but decided to vote based on religious sentiment, tribal sentiment, and at the same time pocket sentiment. They were all selling their conscience for little amount of money, and they took money and they voted for who they voted. So they should enjoy the government if they really want to protect. The protest that we're expecting Nigerians to protect is not going to the streets because these guys you are dealing with don't give a damn about what you do. They're not even going to address you. You saw all the protests that happened in Nigeria in the past. Remember all the October protests, NSACs, and all that. General Biden didn't even address the nation because they have no time. They don't they don't give they don't send us. And we need to understand is these guys don't send us. So what I was expecting them to do was 2003 when they had opportunity to revote, was they should have voted. They took 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, and they voted them in. So when you vote people in, you should enjoy it. If you get tired about this, what I expect Nigerians to do is come 2027, they should go en masse and vote for who they think is right.
You know, there's other angle. to this? Because we witness that some states now, mostly in the southeastern states, they did not tend to perform so much. So we witnessed that the first day probably was because of the IPOP sit at home policy. But on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and then nothing really has happened. Why do you think the Easterners are not paying so much attention to this protest or even participating as much?
In as much as I'm trying to be careful in this discourse, what we need to tell ourselves the hard truth. You see, IPOB telling them, giving them sit at home order. It tells you how our country are so disintegrated that a group will be telling people not to come out and will be enforcing it when they are not state actors. It is annoying and it is pathetic. One, and the Southeast can't continue to do this. I understand that this protest might not change anything, but it will show intent, it will show that people are not happy. Now the Southeast constantly, and they've constantly done that. Until recently, an average Southeasterner will tell you, I don't have time to go and vote, I'll stay in my shade, I'm making my money in my shade, forgetting that you make your money. Yes, the enterprise, look, there are people full of they are very, 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 very enterprising in nature, but forgetting that once there's difference between wealth and there's difference between wealth and power. And people don't understand that you can be so rich when you don't have power, and somebody in power can actually destabilize your wealth. And the Southeastern needs to start understanding that now they've stayed out of this. Look, the Southeast alone cannot provide, cannot produce the president of Nigeria, just like the Southwest alone cannot produce the president, as well as South, as well as every other region, the Northeast, the North Central, the Northwest, cannot produce a president alone. Now, you are thinking every other region or every other five geopolitical zones are moving and protesting and showing. Then the Southeast has decided to shut itself against the other parts of the nation, or because they feel they want to prove a point, or because they felt their song was not voted for. Fine. Was the candidate of the Northeast voted for too? No, but is there any protest in the Northeast? Yes, there's protest in the Northeast. So what is it about the Southeast that are trying to shut themselves out? Now, when you shut yourself out, what makes you think that this will not cause for a reckoning when people will now be thinking, okay, we have this can turn to a movement? Because I remember that the 2012 protest was the beginning of the end for the party PDP at the central. Although it was planned, it was organized to spite, and it was a lie, it was a facade. But we knew that was beginning of the end for PDP in 2015. So what makes you think this cannot snowball to that too? So now you think other regions that have protested and have shown and have fought for it, so come 2027, they will hand over the power to Southeast. That is the wrong thing. The Southeasterners need to stop this disservice to themselves. I know people will come from my head, but that is just the truth. They can say what they want to do, but it is the truth. We need to tell ourselves the truth. You must learn how to align. Look, especially when you want to get an office, it is not a right. Yes, it deserves to present the next president, but it is not a right. They must learn how to align with other people and other forces to ensure that their dream comes to pass.
All right, Mr. Larry Tolu, thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the program, Midday Discuss. This is how much time would permit us to take, though this conversation is actually not over, so we'll continue. I will call you so we could continue this conversation. So thank you so much for joining us on today's edition, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's how much time will permit us to take on today's edition of the program. I'm Samuel Odi. I'll see you all tomorrow for another exciting edition.